Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 reasons we don't have a clear-cut Heisman candidate or front-runner candidates. This is weird. We're past the midway point of the season, and there are guys with names you can throw out, and I probably wouldn't say no to anybody, but most years we have a guy or two that is leading the race.
Before the season even starts.
But these are the top 5 reasons. This particular year, we don't have that.
Okay. Oh, reasons, not the names.
No, not the names.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Yeah, because people want to throw out names on the chat. Give me names. I'm not going to say no to almost anybody. But it's also kind of shows you how the Heisman voting really works. Number 5, the biggest matchup of the season are still to come. So we haven't had a whole lot of those Heisman moments in big games yet, because the biggest games, you look at Ohio State, they've got their 3 biggest games coming up. Oklahoma has their biggest games coming up, although the Texas game, but the biggest, most important games are coming up for Oklahoma. The same thing for Georgia. Those games are coming up for the big and the better teams. And even for the teams that are maybe not upper echelon, the guys with some of the better players, those games are probably coming up, the better ones.
There was a little bit of that when Bijan Robinson broke that cross-field run against OU and he had the stiff arm. There was a little bit of that, and he's among the guys being mentioned. And then Caleb Williams, even though he's only played in like 3 games, his name because of what he did. And then I thought Kennedy Brooks exploded in that game, but he hasn't been week in and week out. They've been, as we know, hit and miss on occasion. But, yeah, that's a pretty good point. The Michigan-Ohio State or Michigan State-Ohio State or Penn State or Georgia, whoever, yeah, maybe that's true.
Yeah, I mean, just to some extent, I will say there's one exception is the 2 guys you could argue are probably the Heisman frontrunners right now have played, Alabama and Ole Miss, with Bryce Young and Matt Corral. But yeah, I mean, we're missing out on C.J. Stroud running for 200 or throwing for 400 yards against Michigan, or something like that. Those moments are to come. I think we're going to see the separation here in these next few weeks.
Yeah. Number 4, the big name preseason candidates have washed out. Spencer Rattler. If you had done it, I mean he's out of it. He's not even starting anymore. DJ Uiagalelei has thrown 4 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions through 7 games. So that's not Heisman stats. So all these guys that you thought were going to be in there have washed out, and now has sent the college football world scrambling for who really to put their name behind, which, leads me to the next point, which let's maybe talk about these together, which is parity. There's a lot more parity in college football in the middle, and so it's hard to say, like, who should you really jump behind as the Heisman candidate, because we really don't know how they're going to finish out.
There's still the chunk of the teams at the top, and they'll eventually, most likely, like even the college basketball men's tournament, they'll get to the top. But wouldn't you say now, from about 13 or 18 and all the way to 40 or so, 45, that it's kind of parity?
Yeah, that's what it is. Number 3 is parity. You can go ahead and put that one up there.
I thought you just mentioned
I was kind of moving. Yeah, that's what I said. I want to talk about it together.
But the NIL, think about what the NIL may have done, too. Not that that's why they're struggling, but that was interesting.
Well, Rattler was the overwhelming favorite, and, he washed out. So that automatically just changed things. And then you've had, some other –
De'Aaron King.
I was going to say De'Aaron King, some other injuries that have occurred as well, where he was a top 5 to 10 Heisman preseason guy. And,
Ukulele?
Yeah, DJ at Clemson. And so, that's definitely throwing it for a loop.
Right. Kenny Pickett is one of the names that's rising a little bit.
Absolutely. Should. Number 2, Georgia's best player, and is the best player on the best team, usually is the guy who wins it, is a defensive tackle.
Do you know how many stars he had coming out of high school?
I don't. It probably wasn't enough. He's damn good.
I think 3.
He's damn good.
Which is, there's a lot of exceptions. There's he's a Jordan Davis.
Yeah, Jordan Davis. The player I think of the most when I think of Georgia is a defensive tackle. Now they have great players at every position, but they don't have anybody who's racking up a ton of rushing yards. They don't have Herschel Walker.
He won't win it, but if he does, this might be a good year to slide in there. Mm-hmm. He ought to invite Ndamukong Suh to the ceremony and say, I just wanted to be here with you because you should have won it.
And usually, one of the candidates is the best, whether they're the winner or not, the best player on the best team is usually a candidate. That's why Ken Dorsey was a candidate. Well, I mean, I don't know. The most popular player, he wasn't the best player on that team. Sean Taylor was on his team.
Yeah, what I think about it, too, Corral's having a great year and Bryce Young's having a really good year as well. But the Heisman's whole thing for not wanting to basically crown anybody that's not a running back, receiver, or quarterback really limits itself.
Yeah.
And I don't think it really speaks to who the best player in college football is. And I don't know how often it really does anymore, because so often it's just, okay, well, who's the quarterback on the best team? And I've kind of been let down by a lot of the Heisman lately.
Yeah.
I just haven't been, sold on it. And part of the reason why is, I know Ndamukong Suh should have been one, and Jordan Davis probably should be one this year, but we know he has absolutely zero chance. So, yeah.
Yeah. And number one, the stats leaders are not on the highest profile teams. The leader in passing
Tanner
plays
Mordecai.
How dare you disrespect Bailey Zappi in Western Kentucky?
But yeah, I mean, you've got these stats leaders. They're not on the high profile teams. So again, what they're doing is kind of, not reaching the people who are going to vote for
The
them.
year Cincinnati gets into the playoff, if they do, as a non-Power 5, might be the year that we give somebody who's not a part of some alpha dog program the Heisman as well.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty well known for people listening now. I do stuff. I do the stats every week for the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award, and it focuses on players from the state of Texas, but they can be from any school in the country. It's Division I. So you have Charleston Rambo last week who won the award, who's from Texas but plays at Miami, and so on and so forth. And anybody who plays at an in-state Texas school is eligible as well. But I'll tell you, man, like I'm putting that list together every week, and this week was a little different because you had Miami and Charleston Rambo, and you had some other big name schools, but it's been a lot of like UTSA and Western Kentucky and SMU and those schools way more than it's been Ohio State. Like Ohio State's got a couple of Texas guys, and I don't think Garrett Wilson's made the list once this year.
Two wide receivers, right?
Yeah. Two. Was it Njigba?
Yeah.
And Garrett Wilson, but I don't think either one of those have been on the list this year so far.
I would also say that the best receiver at Ohio State's Olave, right?
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, again, Thibodeau, the kid from Oregon, is an amazing player, and as our guest Crepia mentioned earlier, but the problem is he missed some games early, right?
Yes.
He was out,
yeah.
That's okay. All right, Paul, is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. All right, I love that Heisman trophy. It's such a good-looking thing.
I agree with all those. I'm probably, I'm sure if you're an Ole